Welcome to News9 and you are watching On Point. Today we have two On Points. The first On Point is on the tariff wars between India and the United States of America as the 50% tariff kicks in. The second On Point is on why all roads to peace in Ukraine pass through Donbass. Now, the tariff war has officially started. The Trump administration has issued a public notice regarding the additional 25% tariff on Indian goods entering the United States of America. The Department of Homeland Security published a notice which said that the increased levies would affect Indian products. Relations between New Delhi and Washington are on a downturn after US President Donald Trump doubled tariffs on Indian goods to a whopping 50%, including a 25% additional duty for India's purchase of Russian crude oil. New Delhi has stood firm against Trump's tariff tyranny. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asserted that India will protect the interest of farmers and small businesses.
मेरे किसान भाइयों से कहूंगा, मेरे पशुपालक भाई बहन से कहूंगा, और मैं गांधी की धरती पे से बोल रहा हूं, मेरे देश के लघु उद्यमी हो, किसान हो, पशुपालक हो, हर किसी के लिए मैं आपको बार बार वादा करता हूं, मोदी के लिए आपके हित सर्वोपरि है.
Now let us look at the revised tariffs that will kick in from August 27th. Coffee, tea, cocoa, spices. Now this is 51.4%. Fish and other products is 50.7%. On chemicals it will be 52.7%. Textiles it will be 58%. Clothing it stands at 61.7%. Rubber, leather and footwear 54%. The tariffs threaten to disrupt India's access to the US, its largest export market, with shipment total near 87 billion in 2024. So what are the areas that require the attention of the Indian government? One, textile and apparel. It's worth 2.5 billion in exports. High tariffs could make Indian textiles costlier, reducing demand and impacting jobs. Jewelry and diamonds. India exported 9 billion worth of jewelry to the United States of America. Tariffs may hit demand for natural and lab-grown diamonds, gold, silver jewelry and colored gemstones. Now, electronic exports worth 14 billion. Currently duty-free, but the future tariff could hurt India's competitive edge. Pharmaceuticals. More than 30% of India's pharma export goes to US tariffs and could severely affect India's largest pharma market. Smartphones. India is the world's top smartphone supplier to US with 44% market share. Though currently exempt, future tariffs could affect competitiveness. The new Fitch ratings have reaffirmed India's stable outlook, citing the country's resilient economic trajectory and sound external position. It says that the fallout from the US tariff risk will be limited. So, the rating status, India affirmed at BBB with stable outlook. Growth forecast 6.5% in financial year 25, financial year 26, 6.5% again, well above BBB median, which is 2.5%. Supporting factors, strong domestic demand, public capex push, solid external finances. Risk and concerns, private investment may slow, fiscal deficits, debt and governance indicators. Trump has used tariffs as a weapon to stop war, he claims. The US president said he could stop 4 wars because United States was armed with tariffs?
It was announced, CBO announced the numbers, and as you know, they gave no credit to tariffs. They said they made a mistake, that the trade deficit will be reduced because of Trump's tariffs, will be reduced by $4 trillion, right? Is that what they said, right? They said $4 trillion, and the market went up like a rocket ship because the tariffs are good. Well, tariffs aren't that usual. If the 7 wars I stopped, 4 of them were because of the fact that I had tariffs and trade. And I was able to say, well, if you do this, if you go fight, and if you want to kill everybody, that's okay. But I'm going to charge you each 100% tariff when you trade with us. You know what? They all gave up. I stopped 7 wars.
Exporters had requested an emergency credit line guaranteeing scheme offering collateral-free working capital with the government-backed risk cover, but officials believe sector-specific interventions could be more effective. Now, what is India's response to 50% tariff? Strategic restraint, focus on diplomacy, and trade diversification. Sectoral support, MSMEs to get easier credit access. Export pivot, boosting trade with Europe, Africa, Southeast Asia. Energy security, look beyond Russian oil purchases. The increased duties place Indian exporters at a 30 to 35% disadvantage versus trade rivals in Vietnam, Bangladesh, and Japan. The 50% tariff could hit India's labor-intensive export sector more than other segments in hubs like Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, and West Bengal. So the big questions: how can India tap alternative export destinations like Germany, UK, Singapore, where demand for the Indian engineering products is growing? Second, does India require more bilateral arrangements? Third, what can the government do to protect farmers and traders' interests? Fourth, do we require some sort of internal rearrangement or reform? Now, on this issue, I'm joined by Professor Scott Lucas, Professor International Politics, Clinton Institute, University College of Dublin. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me. Ambassador Jen Dasgupta, former ambassador to World Trade Organization. Dilip Chenoy, former Secretary General, FICCI. Thank you so much. And subsequently, I'll be joined by Professor Rakesh Mohan Joshi, Vice Chancellor, Indian Institute of Foreign Trade. Professor Lucas, this tariff war is on. So my question to you is, what should India be doing in order to buffer its MSMEs, its labor-intensive industries?
Well, first of all, India's made clear that it's not simply going to cave in to what is, and let's be honest here, this is the Trump administration's bullying. This is not about India's oil purchases from Russia, although I wish those would reduce because they do support Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But that's not why this is being done. This is being done because Trump and his advisors effectively operate this like an organized crime syndicate trying to shake countries down. And they just have decided that because India is not grateful enough to Donald Trump, especially over the war with Pakistan in April, that brief skirmish, they're going to punish India. Now, how do you react to that? I think, like other countries in the world, what you have to realize is that you have to look at other avenues in terms of your economic arrangements, in terms of your trade, in terms of your investment. The U.S. is not the only economy in the world, even though it may be the most important. I think you would talk about, for example, India's trade relationship with the European Union, where there's a great deal of opportunity. Remember that only a few weeks ago, India signed a historic trade agreement with the UK, with potentially billions in investment and trade to be boosted by that. I think there are outlets in other parts of the world. Look, for example, to Canada, where India has had a very difficult political time over the past year. Repairing those political relations would seem to be in the interest of both countries, given the economic uncertainty. So you diversify your relationships outside the country and you support your industries inside the country. Here where I am, in Ireland, and we too are affected in sectors like pharma, in sectors like agriculture and dairy by the U.S. tariffs. The government has just announced an export support plan.